So names are super important, right? Names are super important, and we get into this habit of naming everything, don't you? You get a new car and you're like, oh, what do we even call it? Let's call it Connie, let's call it Barry. Or you get a new pet and it's like this argument in the family, like who gets to name the new rabbit? Floppy, that was the name of my rabbit. And then we had this other one that was kind of a bit feral, so we called him Rascal. And then I think the dog ate it. Anyway, we won't go there. But for me, my name was sort of predestined for a couple of years. My mum had this idea in her head that when she has a daughter, she will call it Ellen. So I've got two older brothers, and they never found out the gender of the baby before they had the baby. So Andrew comes out and she's like, oh. No. Michael comes out, oh, and a bit disappointed, you know. And then I come out and she says, oh, finally, my Ellen. And so for the rest of my life, I've always been loved like that by my mum. I am her Ellen. And the thing about names and the thing about naming things, we kind of put a definition to it. It gives us ownership of it. So for my mum, she took ownership of me in naming me Ellen. If we go on to that, so my family is pretty noisy, pretty rowdy bunch. And there was a moment when I was 14 when my name kind of broke. My mum pulled me into her room and it was so out of the normal. And she pulled me aside and she told me that she was going to leave my dad. And in that moment, I was so numb, I had no idea what to say. But in an instant, my name felt like it had broken. No longer was I Ellen Hales, this tight-knit family, but all of a sudden, I was a lone ranger in the world. So my mum left that night, and it was as if I was running, and all of a sudden I had tripped on something I never saw coming. It was like I got up and I'm like looking, like what happened there? Like I'm sure I was seeing the right way to go, and then all of a sudden I had tripped and just became numb. And I would say from that point on, everyone in my family just started living their own life. And I went on this search from 14, and maybe this is a common story, maybe some of you guys can relate to my story. You just kind of get a bit numb and you feel with pain, and the door is open to shame. And I knew I didn't want to dwell in that place. I didn't want to stay in that shameful place. So I went on a search for joy. I started in, the common places, the places that everyone talks about, like my friends and my brothers, finding joy in my friends, in going out, in trying alcohol, in being amongst people all the time, getting out of the house. And to be honest, I seriously got over that real quick. I realized that, nah, that's not joy, that's not for me. That wasn't for me. And so I started finding joy in other places. I really loved trying out for every sport team. So me and my friends would just try out for everything, like cricket, volleyball, badminton. We were in everything. I even tried out for the debating team. And I just loved being a part of new things and trying new things, and that brought me joy. I felt confident in just being myself and exploring the world. And for a while there, I was joyful. Because I went into life with that mentality, because I was excited to try new things and I was on this hunt for joy, it led me to exploring my faith. So at the end of my Year 12 retreat, we had a net team in my parish when I was in Year 12, and before that, really, I was super curious about God, but never really went there, never really was confident. I never told my friends about my faith. I never asked any questions. I just kind of had it in the background. But after my Year 12 retreat, I was challenged to make a choice for my faith. And like I said, I was on this hunt for joy. And so here they are telling me that this potential opportunity for faith and a bigger understanding of the world was going to bring me joy. I was going to take it. And so the Friday night after my Year 12 retreat, I went along to youth group for the first time. And it was cool because a few other people from my retreat also went along, some girls in my year. So I didn't feel a little bit awkward. But I was welcomed in such a way by strangers. I had never felt joy like that. And in the midst of brokenness, in the midst of worry, in the midst of anger at my parents, I was able to find just a little bit of joy. And acceptance from others is good because it reveals to us our shape in God. Acceptance from others, love from others, that is going to teach you how God loves you. So for me, walking into this room full of strangers and being completely accepted for who I was, it was like heaven, it was like all the joy that I was wanting. And I remember a couple of weeks after that experience at youth group for the first time, I was sitting in the back of my car and my mum's in the driver's seat, my sister Ashley's in the passenger seat, and they're talking, they're yakking and talk, and I'm sitting in the back and just staring out the window. You know how you have those moments where you're just looking out at the world and you're like, where do I belong? What is the point? And I'm staring out the window and I'm just feeling in myself because we're traveling, I just got picked up from my dad's house and we're driving to my mum's house and we're going back and forth and I'm feeling all this I'm so over this. I'm thinking about my HSC and I've got to move all my books from one house to the other. And I was over it and I'm looking out the window and I'm looking at the world and I'm thinking, man, I'm so alone. No one gets me. My friends are ditching me. Everyone's worried about school. I hate the competition. I feel like I'm failing my physics class. My mum just doesn't care. My sister just talks all the time. And in that moment, I just couldn't shake it. So after going to youth group for a couple of times and hearing these people talk about their faith, talk about their joy, I couldn't shake this voice in my head saying, no, Ellen, you're not alone. Remember, you've got me. And I'd never really heard that before, but for some reason, inside of me, deep inside of me, I heard this voice saying, you are not alone. And I can't remember if my name was in front of that, but I just remember those words, you are not alone. And to be honest, I haven't been able to shake that feeling that God is with me for the rest of my life. He's there to stay, and I just can't shake him. Even if I try, he just won't go. And to be honest, I think that each of us, most young people I see, our friends at school, those that aren't here with us, maybe even our brothers and sisters, it's as if they're walking around this world with a backpack full of shame. And maybe that's you. And shame's a bit different to guilt. So guilt is when you feel sorry for something you've done, but shame is when you feel bad for who you are. And I don't blame you. Trust me, I know, I've been there. All the heartbreak, broken families, just failing at exams, that sort of thing opens the door to shame, and it just makes us believe that we're not good enough, or we're not worthy enough, or we're not pretty enough. And we're walking around with this backpack full of shame, and to be honest, the only thing in my life that I've learned that gets rid of that backpack, that shields us against this shame, is knowing that you are loved and knowing that you are worthy. Mother Teresa once said to this room full of lepers, I don't know if you know what a leper is, but it's this terrible disease that kind of enters into your bloodstream and starts to kill the nerves in your fingers and your toes, and all of a sudden your limbs just kind of wear away, and it's really contagious. So a lot of the time these people are kind of kicked out of their communities and just disowned from their families, and of course that just would open the door and flood you with shame, thinking you're not good enough. They found a bit of a cure. You never can grow back what you've lost, but it stops the disease from spreading anymore. And so there's these communities and these colonies that kind of live around the world. And I had the pleasure at one time in India going to this leper colony and just meeting these people and sitting with them, and they've just learned to love each other, and it's really quite beautiful to go and shake their hands and just sit with them, knowing that they're completely disowned from their family, because it's kind of a taboo to go back into your family. A lot of the time they won't accept you. So Mother Teresa, who is a personal role model of mine, she once said to this room full of lepers, they're all sitting around here, and she said, "Thank you. Your presence is a gift from God to the rest of us." And this old leper down the back, he puts his hand up, and Mother Teresa points to him and goes, yeah, cool. And he goes, "Excuse me, ma'am, can you please say that again? It did me good." So she repeats it again, and this acceptance from others, this understanding that he was a gift from God, did him good. Maybe we can all kind of tap into that experience of when someone has loved us or shown us that kind of acceptance. Like I said, that acceptance from others reveals to us our shape in God. True acceptance, unconditional love, a selfless kind of love. If we just take a look at what we're looking at, the theme. So it says, you know my name. But for a lot of us, we're like, who is that you? Like, who are you talking about? Like, who is you? Who is God? What has he got to do with me? In the first letter of John in the New Testament, in this like moment of spontaneous prayer, I'm sure St. John was just like sitting there like on this high moment talking to God, and this revelation comes over him that God is love. And maybe we've heard that before, but really try and like get it into your heart. Like, God is love. It doesn't say that God is love. It doesn't say that God loves. It doesn't say that God is loving. It says that God is love. And God dwells within us. And in that infinite place in our soul, we tap in to the truth that, in fact, God is love. There's a beautiful part in Scripture where Zechariah is told from the angel what to name his son. And the angel says, you will name him John. And then he kind of argues with the angel, and then he goes mute for a bit, and the story gets a bit crazy. And then Elizabeth gives birth to John, and Zechariah just rejoices. And finally he can speak again when the leaders are like, what are you going to name him? And he's like, John. Or he gets a writing palette and writes John. And then he celebrates and he says, the dawn from on high will break on us to give light to those who walk in darkness. Again, it says, the dawn from on high, so the light, the morning dawn will break on us to give light to those who walk in darkness. It doesn't say that the dawn from on high will break on those who walk in darkness. It gives us permission to be that light, to tap in to the God of love that is inside of us and to be that light to those people who are walking in darkness. And for a lot of us, maybe we've never experienced that love. Maybe the shame is just too much. Maybe we think too bad of ourselves. And the thing about shame is that when we feel it, when we take that on, we project that onto the people in the world. We project that onto our friends. We think, oh, they must think this about me. Or we project that out just in the world in general of strangers. And we even project that out onto God, and we think, oh, God is limited. God doesn't love me. I'm not worthy. But the reality is that God is our shield, and he is the only thing that can protect us from ourselves because he dwells within us. When you can tap into that, man, like it is the most liberating feeling I have ever felt. It is the most freeing feeling to just let go of that shame. And trust me, I've been there. There's so many times where I've put that backpack back on because I'm thinking, man, he obviously thinks bad of me. You know, my mum obviously doesn't want to talk to me. Of course I'm going to put that backpack back on. And constantly, like I said, I just can't shake it. I can't shake it. I'm not alone. You are not alone. To be honest, the point of this whole Shine conference is not about dancing. It's not about music. So that you would leave this place knowing that you are loved. That is the only reason why we have a job. Because we want you, as young people in this world, to know that you are loved and offer that light to the people in your life. And we will become influencers of change. That is how we make this world a better place. You tap into that God of love inside of you, man, it's like a light bulb. And you just radiate. Can't help it. It just happens. Like this little girl smiling at me, woo! So good. The light of the world. So right now, I don't want you guys to leave this place without knowing you are loved. In silence, complete silence, we're going to have a bit of a lesson on how to see each other through the eyes of God. All right, Could get awkward, but that's okay. No smiling, no laugh. Actually, you can smile. Of course you can smile. No laughing. You can keep playing, Laurie. That was quite beautiful. All right, we're going to turn to each other. Everyone in this room, just turn to each other. If there's 3, just turn to each other. That's okay. Everyone, teachers up the back, everyone. Damien, turn to Pat. Come on, everyone. Remember, no snickering, in silence. Here it is, for the first time. Look at this person. Look at their uniqueness. Look at their beauty. And try for a moment to just tap in to seeing this person completely perfect, just as they are. Completely perfect. Just look at them. This is a great lesson. If you can master this, and trust me, it takes a while, but if you can master the art of looking at a stranger and seeing beauty, you will make the world a better place. You're tapping into the God of love inside of you. All right, bring the mood down. If it's too much to look that person in the eye, that's okay. I want you to say one thing to this person. Just as Mother Teresa said to that shameful leper, I want you to tell this person, thank you. You are a gift from God to the rest of us. Thank you. You are a gift from God to the rest of us. Everyone, Ryan, I can't see you telling someone. Teachers at the back. Bishop Greg, come on. Thank you. You are a gift from God to the rest of us. All right, we're going to bring it back. So like I said, there is no other point. There's nothing else. No other reason why we would do this. No other reason for Shine than that you know that you are known, you are loved, and that the dawn from on high will break on us so that we may give light to those who walk in darkness. So can we be that? Can we be a community for each other? Can we be that family in a world full of broken families? From this place, that's your only challenge, to master the art of seeing the stranger as God sees them. Thanks everyone. I hope you have a great Shine.